UFC 301 has 14 fights, which means there are 28 fighters to choose from while building an ideal DraftKings lineup. We also have the most amount of $9,000 plus fighters I have ever seen in a DraftKings slate. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks. I'm going to walk through the entire UFC 301 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and DraftKings plays. But before I do, let's get a quick shout out to Crit. Crit is a premium member at We Want Picks. He put up $20,000 winning DraftKings lineup at UFC 300, and he sent it over with this note. This gentleman just won $20,000, and he took the time to screenshot it, send it to us, and say, I've been watching you guys 3 years now, and you guys are by far the most consistent and entertaining. Lock of the week and yours analysis of the fights have helped me a lot. Well, congratulations, Crit. $20,000 is absolutely nothing to sneeze at, and if you want to join Crit and the rest of the premium members, just become one. It's only $10 for a freaking entire month. At WeWantPicks.com, just click Become a Member at the top. But Crit isn't the only one that's made a couple of dollars. We have put up $532,000 of winning tickets from premium members in the last 6 months. This is only DraftKings Fantasy. And we have put up over $500,000, and this is from the collective We Want Picks premium member community. These people have not only access to all the tools they could ever want or need, but they also get access to the best DraftKings ownership projections in the game. Here's your numbers from UFC Vegas 91. By far the best. Same story for UFC 300. Same story for every other card. It is not a coincidence that week in and week out, we absolutely 100% have the best DraftKings ownership projection numbers on the planet. I have somebody that is literally grinding through data to come up with these projections, and he dominates them every single week. Compare us to the Roto Grinders, the Awesomos, these giant hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars behind them companies, and we blow them out of the water with the most important part of all of this. And these DraftKings ownership projections will be preloaded into our DraftKings Optimizer. You just log in here at WeWantPicks.com, click on DraftKings Fantasy, and then Lineup Optimizer, and boom, here you are. This optimizer will be preloaded every single Friday after the weigh-ins, later in the day when the dust settles, with these ownership projections. It'll be preloaded, ready to go. You click a few buttons, it'll spit out a lineup. If you don't know how to build a lineup using the optimizer, just watch this beautiful video right here on the page. And here's a full breakdown of what this is and how it all works. Everything you could ever want or need heading into a fight week is available for the low price of $10 a month. What we don't do here is have stupid tiers. We don't have like, MMA betting, $20, MMA DFS, another 20, but if you put it together, I'll give it to you for 30. None of that bullshit. We are determined to give you the best possible product on this planet at the best possible value. I am determined to build a world where nobody can sell anything because I am selling this for $10 a month. We have well over 3,000 premium members. I thank every single one of you. And I invite everybody else to sign up, join the team, WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. It's $10. 10. Not a week, not an event. 10 for an entire month. You get picks, bets, round line leans, multiple analysts, artificial intelligence, DraftKings fantasy tools, prize picks, underdog, FanDuel, literally everything. This video would be an hour and a half if all I did was tell you about what's included for that $10. Go to WeWantPicks.com, click the button at the top, spend the freaking $10, and you're good for a whole month. Let's go ahead and break down this card. This is a good card. I'm looking forward to it. Is it UFC 300? No, but it's going to be a while till something is. But this is a very good card. There's a couple of massive favorites on this card. If we sort by salary, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fighters at $9,000 or more. That's some of the most I've ever seen. And I know that sentence didn't make sense. I know saying some of the most, I know that didn't make sense. But you get the point I'm trying to make. Some massive favorites on this card, and they are priced accordingly. So what we need to do is break down this card. I will go fight by fight, and we'll talk about who should be in your lineup, who should not, who's worth their price tag in DraftKings Fantasy, and who is not. And we have to be very careful because there's a lot of people priced a little outrageously. But let's start at the bottom and work our way to the top. Opening up the UFC 301 fight card, we have Alessandro Costa taking on Jacob's underdog lock of the week, Kevin Borjas. Alessandro Costa, guy's pretty good. He's a solid striker. He's got good takedown defense. His striking style, he's got that high, tight guard. He can be patient. And then when he's ready to go, he will leap in and throw everything with 100% intent. He is trying to take your head off when he does finally let his hands go. He'll throw a nice left to the body and then a right up to the head. He did just come off this decision loss to Steve Erceg, which on paper looks pretty good. That guy's fighting for a title later on this card. And not only did Costa survive, but we'll talk about Steve Erceg a little later, but he also had his nice little takedown there, landed a few strikes, had a tiny bit of control time, and had somewhat of a decent showing. Was it the best? No, of course not. His previous loss in the UFC was a short notice step up to Amir Albazi. Amir Albazi, once he comes back and he doesn't have all these random injuries and disappear for years at a time, might end up being the champion of this weight class as well. So Alessandro Costa has had a tough slate in the UFC, and the one winnable fight, he destroyed that dude. And it was Jimmy Flick, and he beat that dude half to death. But Alessandro Costa is $8,200, which is a very affordable price point in DraftKings Fantasy. The reason he's so affordable is it's an interesting fight. He's taking on Kevin Borjas. Kevin Borjas only has one fight in the UFC, and you'll see here that it was a loss to Joshua Van. That was a good fight. Kevin Borjas had Joshua Van in a lot of trouble very early. He's a very good striker. He throws combinations well. He'll use everything from straight strikes to low leg kicks, and he will do all of it while plodding forward. He's an absolute dog. If fights get gritty and fights get dirty, he will be there. The only reason I think Alessandro Costa wins this fight and not Kevin Borjas is the takedowns. We watched Kevin Borjas get taken down in that fight with Josh Van. Josh Van was losing the striking and said, you know what, I got to switch it up. Started shooting takedowns. And the takedown defense wasn't completely there. His ability to get up wasn't completely there. And that's how he ended up losing, the grappling. I think Alessandro Costa could lose the striking, make adjustments, and then start wrestling. And if he does that, he can beat Kevin Borjas. But Kevin Borjas is a phenomenal underdog. The problem with the price point on this card specifically, there was so many people that are so expensive that this mid-tier price point, we need almost guarantees that we're going to score some points. I don't think there's a finish in this fight. I think it's back and forth. I don't know how much heavy grappling there is going to be. And because of all of that, I'm probably going to fade both of these guys in my DraftKings fantasy lineup, especially if I'm doing a safe cash type game. But if I had to pick a side here, I would go Costa because I personally think there is a wrestling upside if you go that direction. Then we have right out of the rip, for this to be the second fight of the night is pretty surprising because Ismael Bonfim is definitely a guy that they want to hype. Vinc Pichel is definitely a guy that's been in exciting fights. He's not a boring guy. He's always fun. He's always there. He's always put on a show. So I'm surprised that this is so early in the card, and maybe this is for arena reasons. Maybe they know the Brazilian fans come late and leave early, and that's not like they do. They literally walked out on Glover Teixeira while he was doing his retirement speech, like, yeah, all right, I'll see you. And they just left, didn't even listen to the guy. They could give a shit. So this might be why they have Ismael Bonfim, a guy that they are trying to hype the shit out of. This might be why they have him so early on the card is let's get some people in this arena so it's not weird and empty. But Ismael Bonfim is a guy. He's an exciting guy. He will come forward. He will stay in your face. He doesn't know what a straight punch is. He bombs everything. Every punch is a big overhand, a big looping shot trying to take your head off. He's also a very good wrestler. He also has very, very good BJJ. He's got boxing. He's a very well-rounded guy that can do absolutely all the things. He did just lose to Benoit Saint-Denis. I don't think that's a bad loss. Benoit Saint-Denis just beat the shit out of Dustin Poirier until he got caught running in. So I think Ismael Bonfim losing to Saint-Denis is not that big of a deal. But the big issue here is we don't know what his cardio is really going to look like. He does have some decisions on his record. I believe he had a decision on the Contender Series. So we've seen him fight the distance. But Vinc Pichel is a tough guy. Vinc Pichel is a gritty guy that can make these fights ugly even when they don't need to be. If we run through his record, he lost to Gregor Gillespie. That's because Gregor Gillespie, before he disappeared into thin air, was a phenomenal wrestler. He just lost to Mark O'Madsen, Olympic wrestler as well. And a lot of people feel that Vince may have won that fight. Outside of that, Vince has a lot of wins. I don't know what the hell this fight is from 2012. It is what it is. But Vinc Pichel is 41 years old. He has not fought in 18 months. I have to lean Ismael Bonfim here because Vinc Pichel is very tough. He's a guy that'll stay in your face. He's not very technical, but he times things well. His offensive wrestling is very good. His defensive wrestling has some holes in it. He only has a 23% takedown defense, and he has been taken down over 23 times in the UFC. But what he is tough. He's not a guy you just get out of there. I mean, decision loss. Even the sub loss to Gillespie. Gillespie's freaking nasty. And then all the way back to 12 years ago to find another loss that was a finish. I think this fight goes a little bit longer. I think Ismael Bonfim will have some success striking. I think he'll come out hot. I think he'll wrestle Vince. And then I think he will slow down drastically. And whether he finishes strong or just rides out, I don't know. But I do think Ismael Bonfim wins this fight. He's supposed to win. He's younger by a long shot. He's the better fighter, the more well-rounded guy. The only concern that I have and everybody else has is, what is Bonfim's cardio going to look like? And let's just, for the sake of assumption here, let's pretend this guy is a professional athlete that takes his career seriously and won't gas out. Let's just make those assumptions. And with those assumptions, you got to go Bonfim here. But if we're looking at these very highly priced guys, I'm not spending the $9,300 on Bonfim because I don't know if he's going to finish Pichel. Pichel is that tough. And Bonfim might slow down. We have some other people in those 9,000 price range that can score really well. We got Dione Barbosa taking on Ernesta, whatever the hell her last name is. But Dione Barbosa, solid grappler, very solid grappler. She will throw tight strikes. She will look to get it to the ground. She has a judo background, so it's not just shooting doubles and shooting singles. She will look to tie you up, grab the head, work in a trip, work in a choke, and then toss you to the ground and all of the things that come along with judo. She is going to look to tie you up in a clinch. She's going to look to get you to the cage. She's going to look to toss you. All of that is control time in DraftKings Fantasy. Control against the cage, control on the ground, all of that matters. She is coming off of a short notice win on the Contender Series. Well, you don't see that here because DraftKings doesn't do anything for the Contender Series. She is fighting Ernesta Kareckaite. And Ernesta is a solid striker. Does she have power? No, not even a little bit. But she is technical. She does have good footwork. She has fast hands, good head movement. She'll throw punches in combinations instead of one at a time, and she'll just dance her way around and look for a decision win. I think she could potentially win this fight, right? She's a good striker. If she can figure out how to defend the takedowns, I think she could win this fight. But I don't think she does win this fight. She has to fight a perfect 15 minutes. Because what we did see in some of her other fights is she gets taken down and she almost has nothing to offer. It is very hard for her to get back up. Very hard for her to get back up. You can see her struggling to close distance at times. I don't know if I can trust Ernesta here. So I'm going to have to go with Dione Barbosa. And if we're looking at fighters to score well, DraftKings creates a world with their scoring system where you need wrestlers and you need finishes. Wrestlers score well with 5 points per takedown with the control time racking up, and then obviously finishes score well with the bonuses. Can Ernesta get you a finish? No. Is she a wrestler? No. Ernesta should not be in any lineup that you're looking at. Even if she wins a decision, she's only going to get 30 points for the win and then maybe another 30 or 40 for the strikes. So we're at 70 points. That doesn't even cover her $7,300 salary. So Ernesta will not be in a lineup, and I will consider Dione because I do think she can get a whole bunch of takedowns. But let's look at the other highly priced fighters and see if there's some finish upside on some of the others there. But we know we need wrestlers in these lineups. Speaking of finishes, we have Mauricio Ruffy taking on Jamie Mullarkey. Mauricio Ruffy is a heavy-handed guy. He is a nasty striker. He has big fight-ending power. He's got 9 wins, which is not a very robust career, but he has 9 wins with 9 stoppages. He will throw insanely heavy 1-2s. He will look to land that power. He's not just a boxer, though. He's going to launch kicks right up the middle. He'll defend takedowns. He'll keep fight standing, and he will just stand there and slug it out with you and try to get it done. We did get a glimpse. He's got 9 finishes, as I mentioned, but the last one was late into the 3rd round. So we get a glimpse of what that cardio looks like. Is this a guy that doesn't finish you early and then completely falls off a cliff and gasps? I'm going to pause there. What I meant to say is completely falls off a cliff and gasses. But what I said is clip and gasps. I apologize. That made no sense. Is Mauricio Ruffy a guy that is just going to get to the third round, be exhausted, and not be able to move forward? Well, we saw him in the third round, and that wasn't the case. Was he as fresh as Clay Guida in a third round? No. But did he look like he was going to death gas? Also, no. Mauricio Ruffy, dangerous, nasty striker that can survive. And he's taking on Jamie Mullarkey. Jamie Mullarkey not only looks like Jacob, he also has Jacob's chin. This guy is chinny as shit, unfortunately. Because Jamie Mullarkey is actually a pretty good fighter. He's very well-rounded. He can strike, he can grapple, he can do all the things. He's a jack of all trades. He's great at nothing, but he's good at all the things. He's as durable as he can be. His chin is not there. So he's as durable as he can be if you eliminate the chin. Meaning he's not a quitter. He's not going to turn his head like Jalen Turner and just give up. He'll stay in the fight. He'll keep coming forward. He does have some power. He's got 2 knockouts in the UFC, but for the most part, he's just going to stay in your face, throw what he can throw, work in some takedowns when he can, and just do everything he can to win a fight. He's not going to be the harder-hitting guy in this matchup. He's not going to be the more dangerous guy in this matchup. He is the more well-rounded fighter, though, because he has all the skills, where Mauricio Ruffy is more of a striker that has some takedown defense. But if you're chasing that knockout, you got to go the Mauricio Ruffy side. We just watched Jamie Mullarkey get knocked out cold by Nasrat Haqparast, who's also not a giant power guy. 2 fights before that, we watched him get knocked out cold by Muhammadjan Naimov. He did beat John Makdessi, which is a solid win, and he did beat Prado, who has some power as well. But just the knockout that he came off, he's been knocked out bad 2 of his last 3 fights. And he's fighting a guy with insane power. I do think Mauricio Ruffy knocks out Jamie Mullarkey. The concern is that he's a UFC debut, debuting on a pay-per-view inside of an arena in his hometown with loud fans. This is going to be a huge moment for Mauricio. He's never been anywhere near this level of attention. And you don't know if you can trust that guy, but skill for skill, matchup for matchup, power for chin, Mauricio Ruffy should absolutely win this fight. Then we have Drakkar Klose taking on Joaquim Silva. $8,700 for a guy like Drakkar Klose makes sense and doesn't at the exact same time. Drakkar Klose is a very good fighter. He's a good wrestler. He's a state champion wrestler that has developed striking over time. And now he's all the things in his fights. He doesn't typically immediately look to wrestle. It's almost as if you need to trigger the wrestling exchanges, and then he'll go ahead and fall in line and also wrestle with you. But Drakkar Klose is a very good wrestler who has good striking, decent power, good cardio, solid boxing. Overall, well-rounded guy. He can go the distance or he can finish. You'll see here he's riding a nice 3-fight win streak. He beat Jenkins. That's a quality win. He beat Garcia. That was a quality win. They exchanged some takedowns there. And then he just slammed Joe Selecki. He was put into an armbar, picked it up, bagooshed him on his head, and finished Joe Selecki. Like that, I mean, good for him. It wasn't even technique. It wasn't even to just, I win. Like if I fought a child. And he's taking on Joaquim Silva. Joaquim Silva is actually the younger fighter in this matchup. I had it in my head that Joaquim Silva was old as shit, but he's not. He's 35. Drakkar Klose is 36. He's the younger guy in this matchup. Joaquim Silva also probably has more raw power. He's not the better striker. Drakkar Klose is a good striker, but Joaquim Silva has more power, just huge power. He had Arman Sarukian on ice skates. They didn't give him a knockdown because he didn't fall down, but he was out of sorts, wobbling around after Joaquim Silva cracked him. But the reality is Joaquim Silva is not even a striker. He just has huge power. He's actually a grappler with very good BJJ. He did just beat a 106-year-old Clay Guida in a fight that was way closer than it should have been. You should not be in that close of a fight with a guy at the age of Clay Guida. And I get Clay is a guy, but old matters in this sport. Joaquim Silva will be dangerous for that big one-punch power, but I think Drakkar Klose is going to be the better wrestler. I think he's going to be the better striker. Drakkar Klose should absolutely win this fight. Joaquim Silva is a kill or be killed kind of guy, so Drakkar Klose is likely going to finish him and put up some points. Drakkar Klose, $8,700, does make some sense for me. Then we have an interesting matchup with Jean Silva taking on William Gomis. It's interesting because of William Gomis's weigh-ins. We'll talk about that in a second. Jean Silva is a guy, at least in the striking department. He is loose. He is creative. He has fun out there. He has power. He will go from tight guard to wild spinning techniques. He will jump. He will do all the things. When he is striking, if he's in a fun flow state, he does some pretty incredible stuff. But as the youngsters say, he likes to play with his food, which means instead of just going in for the kill and looking for the finish, he'll play games. He'll tap dance around. He'll showboat, try to make you look stupid. And all that does is give his opponents some time to recover. João Silva is a dangerous guy. His takedown defense is solid. His striking is absolutely devastating. And he is coming off this win over Weston Wilson in his UFC debut. But before you say, wow, look at this knockout. Ooh, it was Weston Wilson. It was Weston Wilson. He is taking on William Gomis. William Gomis did not look good in his weigh-ins. William Gomis made weight by 3 pounds, meaning he weighed 143 pounds when he could have weighed 146 pounds. They give you 1 pound if it's not a title fight. That's stupid. So one of two things happened. Either William Gomis and his camp are stupid and they overcut weight. And let me tell you, he didn't hop on the scale looking good like, yeah, I did it, guys. Yeah, all right, great mood. I don't cut weight, so this wasn't a big deal. If that's the case, then who cares, right? He doesn't cut weight. He was underweight. Doesn't matter. That's not what happened. He looked like he was going to die and was using the scale to hold himself up. He looked horrendous. He overcut weight. And then there's rumors that he was throwing up in the back. So one of two things have happened. He's either stupid as hell and cut too much weight, or he's sick. He has some illness. He's sick. He's throwing up. He's been throwing up for days, has been losing weight like crazy. It's one of those two things. Neither one of those bode well here. No matter what, he should have never been in your DraftKings lineup. No matter what, even if he showed up healthy. Because while William Gomis is a very skilled fighter, he can grapple, he can strike, he can do all the things. Outside of this win over Giannis Gamori isn't UFC level. Outside of that win over Giannis Gamori, William Gomis typically wants to fight on the outside, stay on the outside, pot shot his way, be technical, that Savate style, that French Savate style of technical distance striking. That does not score well. He beat Francis Marshall. 42 fucking points. Imagine only scoring 42 points. You get 30 for the win. He only scored 12 points on his own. That's absurd. 80 points against Jarno Aarons. 80 is not terrible, but he was priced at $8,600. You can't have this guy in your lineup, whether he wins or not. Let's say he beats João Silva the way he beat Francis Marshall. And you put him in your lineup and you pick the winning dog at $7,600 and you're like, hell yeah, look at me. And he puts up 42 points. You're going to get more out of half of the losers on this card than you are from William Gomis, even in a win. You can't put him in your lineup. If you think João Silva knocks him out, especially with William Gomis looking like death, go for it. Go for it. And then we have Elves Brener and Myktybek Orolbai. Listen, Elves Brener is everybody's favorite dog this week. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but let's talk about Myktybek Orolbai. Myktybek Orolbai is a beast wrestler. He's a beast wrestler. This guy's a fun grappler. He's going to entertain the striking for a little bit. His striking is stiff. It's not very good, but it doesn't matter because he looks like a caveman and his head is a caveman head. Cavemen back in the day would slam walls with their heads. They would like grab a coconut, baka, and then the coconut's open. They would grab a wildebeest. No, not a wildebeest. A woolly mammoth. Just with their head. And that's the head that Myktybek Orolbai has. And it's unfortunate. He has he's missing a chromosome. That's the caveman look if you took biology. And that's what he needs, though, because his striking is not very good. So he has an insanely good chin. He has a head that you can hit with a baseball bat and he'll be totally fine. And then he gets his wrestling going and he dominates fights with wrestling. $9,000 will be in my lineup because of the wrestling. He did only put up he was only $8,400 in his last fight, and he did put up 123 points. A little bit of a price juice on him now that we see what he is, but still, give me those same points and I'm happy for it. He is taking on Elves Brener. Elves Brener, I think, at least according to the comment sections, it's either Elves Brener or Jose Aldo are everybody's favorite underdog this week. And I understand both of those. Elves Brener is a dog. He is coming off 2 knockout wins in a row. He knocked out Garam. He knocked out Kowalkiewicz. And he's a grappler. So the fact that he's knocking these people out standing while being a grappler is incredible. But he can hit Myktybek with whatever shot he wants, and that caveman isn't going anywhere. Elves Brenner's going to get taken down, ridden out. And even though Elves is an absolute dog that is not going to quit and will continue to fight no matter what, I think the wrestling is going to be too much, so I am on the Myktybek Orolbai side. Then we have the lady fight. We have Iasmin Lucindo and Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Iasmin Lucindo should dominate this fight. I will not spend the $9,200 on her. Iasmin Lucindo's a good grappler. She's going to clinch, she's going to drag you to the ground, and she's going to work from there. She's a very good grappler. Once she's on the ground, she's got solid top pressure. She uses strikes to loosen you up, and then she'll transition to submission. She does a very good job. She doesn't chase, doesn't get wildly excited. She gets you where she wants you, and then works. And that's what you like to see. But she is 16 years younger. That is good and bad. The good is she's 16 years younger. The bad is she has 16 fewer years of just life experience and decision making. Because Karolina Kowalkiewicz is a former title challenger. Karolina Kowalkiewicz is a very, very good fighter who is blasting through a career resurgence. She was on a 5-fight skid. She lost to Andrade. She lost to the Karate Hottie. She lost to Grasso. She lost to Yan Janan. She lost to freaking Jessica Panay. That was the bottom. That was when I was like, okay, I think you probably need to retire. And then she beat a retiring foot picture selling Felice Herrig, then Gomez Juarez, then Demopoulos, then Belbita. And these are not the tippy top of the division, but these are women that can go out there and be tough. Felice Herrig was insanely tough. Fought everybody on every promotion before it was cool to be a female fighter and before the UFC accepted them. Gomez Juarez got some solid striking. Vanessa Demopoulos is a dog. Belbita, decent. Came out of retirement to just retire again. That wasn't a great. You should have won that fight. But she did, and she put up some insane points. Karolina is not going to win this fight, in my opinion. She has far more experience. She is a very good kickboxer, very good striking. But I just think the sport is starting to pass her by. And she was able to beat some of these mid-tier fighters with her experience, with the kickboxing, with just years and years of work and grit. But Iasmin Lucindo doesn't give a shit. She's strong. She will be in your face. She's a good grappler. She's tough. I think she's sort of, unfortunately, is going to make Karolina look a little old and a little worn out in this fight. Then we have Joanderson Brito and Jack Shore. I think you have to have Joanderson Brito in your lineup at $8,500. That is the very affordable price point. Look at this guy's, look at him. Just look at him, damn it. He smoked Andre Fili, 131 points. Smoked Alexander, 105 points. Smoked Wilson, 108 points. Smoked Pierce, 87 points. And when I say smoked, I mean he got taken down. Jonathan Pierce said, "Get up, boy." And Joanderson's like, "Oh, okay." And he got up and he choked him out because Jonathan Pierce is a clown, an absolute clown shoe. The Bilal Gio loss isn't the greatest thing we've ever seen, but Bilal Gio is weird and wonky, and it's hard to time him, and that was a UFC debut. Joanderson Brito has insane one-punch knockout power in his hands. He will snatch up submissions from everywhere, and he is, in my opinion, the most dangerous guy in this weight class. Joanderson Brito should be in your lineup at $8,500. He is fighting Jack Shore. Jack Shore only has one loss. He's a good fighter. He's a very good fighter, but he's a little soft. He moved up in weight and didn't put on any muscle, just like got chubby. He's soft. Like he has no muscle definition whatsoever. And he moved up in weight. And he's fighting a beast of a human being. But Jack Shore is a good grappler. Jack Shore is going to come forward, look to get his takedowns, and he's constantly shooting. Look to get his takedowns, leave some high pressure in your face, work in some kicks if he can, and then go from there. He did just beat Makwan Amirkhani, but he's no longer in the UFC. The first time he fought a ranked guy, he got submitted. The Timur Valiev fight that's a solid win, but we've seen what's happened to him since then. The Ultimate Fighter, all those things. He does have some good wins in here, and he is a good fighter. You don't get the 17-1 not being a good fighter, but he did not like fighting at this weight class, so then he moved up to this weight class, and now he's fighting a savage beast killer. I think Joanderson Brito beats him and puts up some solid points along the way. Then we have our main card. We have Caio Borralho, $9,500. He's the second biggest favorite on this card. He's almost a 7-1 favorite. He's $9,500, and it's so hard to decide what to do with that price point because Caio Borralho is a very good grappler. He comes forward. He gets his takedowns. He'll shoot nice, real takedowns. He'll strike with you a little bit. He's very good everywhere. He's strong. He's got plenty of cardio. He's got solid decision-making, and he will fight good, clean fights with solid game plans. He also has a shit ton of decisions that don't score well. He has only ever gotten to this price point one time, and that was in his submission win over Mikhail Olenjachuk. But what makes this so tricky is he's fighting Paul Craig. I think he absolutely smokes Paul Craig. I think Paul Craig is one of the most overrated fighters, overhyped fighters in this division. People love him. And I get it. He's exciting. He's a big guy, good-looking guy. He's always just fighting, meaning he's not boring. He's not a quitter. He will pull guard like a lady, but he's not a quitter. And Paul Craig has more than one come-from-behind victory. Krylov was beating his ass, submitted him at the last minute. So was Ankalaev, the number one contender light heavyweight. Beat the shit out of him. And then with like 1 minute left or 1 second left, whatever it was, Paul Craig ends up submitting him. But anybody halfway decent smokes Paul Craig. And that's the reality of this situation, and that's what's going to happen here. He is going to get smoked. The problem is, how many points is he going to score? Paul Craig does get finished. Despite being the better grappler in most matchups, he gets finished. He was just submitted by Brendan Allen. But I can't go with Caio Borralho in the DraftKings fantasy. Caio Borralho is going to win this fight. You want to bet on him in real life, do that. But in DraftKings fantasy, Caio Borralho will probably either just strike with him the whole time, or if he does get it to the ground, he'll just stay safe and ride out a decision. He's not going to chase his submission. He's not going to get overly aggressive. Caio Borralho is too controlled for that, so I'm not going to have him in my DraftKings lineup, even though I'm positive Caio Borralho wins this fight. Then we have Michel Pereira versus Ihor Potieria. Michel Pereira is the biggest favorite on this card. He's minus 700. He is $9,600 in DraftKings fantasy, and I think you got to do it. Because unlike Caio Borralho, Michel Pereira does go for it and does have a ton of finishes, and he gets in your face. He has insane power in his hands. He has that fun, flashy capoeira style. He also has 3 rounds of cardio, and he can wrestle. If we go back to this Nico Price win, it was 91 points. You'd like to see a little more than that, but he had 3 takedowns, and he kept moving forward. But Nico Price is also tough and a very good grappler. So Michel Pereira, let's say he comes out there with that Nico Price energy, those takedowns. He's going to go over a wrestling route because Ihor Potieria is a striker. Ihor's got 5 minutes of cardio, and that's it. I think Michel Pereira wins and wins inside the distance and covers his salary. If we look at Ihor Potieria, this guy is a striker. He's a good striker. He's got some power, but he relies on his chin. He relies very heavily on his chin. So if you can connect to his chin, he's going down because his chin doesn't always hold up. He was a 205-pounder that is coming down to 185 pounds. And once you factor in the fact that Michel Pereira was a 170-pounder moving up to 185, you basically have guys that were 2 weight classes apart that are meeting in the middle. And Michel Pereira is still not going to be the smaller guy here. So I think Michel Pereira has no problems. Ihor Potieria can be dangerous early, will be dangerous early, good striker. But Michel Pereira can wrestle. Michel Pereira also has insane power. He's very durable. He's got all this. Michel Pereira should absolutely win this fight, even if he's losing early to who may be the more technical striker, Ihor Potieria. Michel Pereira will be in my lineup. He is my pickerino. Then we have Vitor Petrino and Anthony Smith. I'm probably the least confident in Vitor Petrino as the big favorites on the main card. And that's only because Anthony Smith is still tough and Vitor Petrino is still learning. He's not, I don't want to say not good because people, what are you talking about? But his skills aren't necessarily there. Vitor Petrino is learning at an insane pace, and he has power in his hands, and he's learning how to grapple. He's learning how to do other things. He literally looks at his coaches during the fight, looks at what should I do here? Oh, you want me to, I'll go under? Okay. Literally looks at his coaches and they coach him through positions. And that's excellent in that Vitor Petrino is clearly a very coachable guy that's learning at an incredible pace. It's bad, though, when you're in the middle of a fight and you don't necessarily know what to do in all the positions. This is by far Vitor's biggest fight of his career, not even close, against the best fighter he's ever fought, not even close. But Vitor Petrino should absolutely win this fight. He's going to be bigger, faster, younger, stronger. He also has devastating power in his hands. He's got good takedowns, good control. Vitor Petrino should absolutely win this fight. I'm not going to throw him in my lineup at $9,400 because he is fighting a zombie. Anthony Smith is a zombie. Sure, Khalil Roundtree just knocked him out cold. Khalil Roundtree is a much better striker than Vitor Petrino. It's not even close. It's not even close. But Anthony Smith is insanely durable for the most part. Anthony Smith, and you're going to see this ankle I have lost. That was an ankle injury. That doesn't count. Anthony Smith is durable. Anthony Smith's a very good striker. He's got very good jiu-jitsu as well. He has more than one submission win, including over Ryan Spann. Anthony Smith is very good. I do think he lost to Ryan Spann in this fight. But the reality is Anthony Smith is by far the toughest opponent Vitor Petrino has fought and could give him some trouble. This is an excellent fight for us to find out how good Vitor is or is not, how ready he is or is not for the top of this division. Vitor Petrino should win. That's why this is the matchup. Anthony Smith is focusing on his post-fight career, as he should be. Anthony Smith is starting to age out a little bit. The injuries are starting to catch up to him. He's getting slower. He's getting older. He was just put out. I got to go Vitor Petrino here. I am confident that he wins. Don't get me wrong. I'm not as confident that Vitor Petrino wins as I am that Kyle Barallo and Michel Pereira win, if there's a tier system for you. So I don't know if I'm going to have Vitor Petrino in my lineup either, especially when we're talking about these giant price points. But I do think Vitor Petrino wins this fight. Then we have our co-main event of the evening. Jonathan Martinez versus Jose Aldo, or Jose Aldo. Jonathan Martinez, slight favorite here. And actually, the way this opened up, Jose Aldo was the favorite, and then it flipped, and Jonathan Martinez now is. And I understand that. Jonathan Martinez, people want to call him Jose Aldo 2.0 because he just finished Adrian Yanez with the leg kicks. And that was incredible. Great job. That was incredible to win that fight with the leg kicks the way that he did. And that was very Jose Aldo-esque. Jonathan Martinez is a well-rounded guy, technical striking, good BJJs, Muay Thai striking style, great kicks, all the things. He is very, 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 very good. He should absolutely win this fight. Problem is, in decisions, he scores like shit. And that's because he doesn't really have phenomenal wrestling, and his volume isn't necessarily there. So Jonathan Martinez should not be in your lineup. He's not going to win this fight by finish, and he's not going to take down Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo quite literally has the best takedown defense in the history of the UFC. If you disagree with that statement, I'd love to hear who you think has better takedown defense. And that's not like me being an asshole. I'm serious. I'm curious who in the history of the UFC, and I've been watching since literal day one, has better takedown defense than Jose Aldo. Run through this guy's resume. He has the most amount of title defenses at this weight class, not even close. He has fought every style of fighter, strikers, wrestlers, grapplers, everybody. And he's beaten everybody except Conor with that flash knockout. He's beaten Frankie Edgar twice, who's a phenomenal wrestler. And yes, he lost to Max Holloway, but Max Holloway is the man. He has basically beaten everybody he's supposed to beat and then lost to the upper echelon. The Marlon Moraes loss was a little tricky. That's when we're like, oh shit, Jose's officially getting old. The loss to Piotr Jan is what it is. But then he moved some things around, made some changes, beat Cheeto, beat Munoz, beat Font, and then he fought Merab to a decision where he defended every single takedown Merab put in his face. But those judges in that arena did not like the fact that Merab had so much control time. Jose Aldo fighting Merab on a UFC Vegas card on a fight night, they might have given him the decision. Point being to all of this is that Jose Aldo was that guy, even in defeat, continued to be that guy. He retired in 2022 after losing to Merab because he was like, well, there goes my title shot. Forget it. So he retired, fought some boxing fights on the regional scene. He's 2-1 in boxing, but the one was a draw against Jeremy Stevens, and the 2 wins are over guys that have never come close to a victory. Jose Aldo's coming out of a 2-year retirement, probably for a paycheck. He literally wants to fight on the Mike Tyson undercard later this summer. I think Jose Aldo is here for a paycheck. He's the king of Rio. This fight is in Rio. Does that mean he's going to be ill-prepared? No, of course not. Jose Aldo will be there. He will be dangerous. He will be that guy for moments in that fight. But I think Jonathan Martinez is going to be a little too fast, a little too young, a little too Energizer Bunny-esque, and Jose is going to be a step behind. He's listed at 36 years old. I promise you this man is in his 40s. He grew up in the favelas. He had no paperwork. When it was time to be an adult and get jobs and all that stuff, he had to go get his birth certificate. They don't have paperwork. So they said, well, how old are you? He literally just said an age. I'm this old. This is my birthday. And they wrote up his paperwork like that. I'm not making this up. You can find this information online. This is public-ish information. Jose Aldo is going to be a little too old, a little too slow for this fight. But Jonathan Martinez is not going to finish Jose. He's not going to be able to take him down, which means he's not going to score a lot of points. He won't be in my lineup. Now, with the main event of the evening, you should absolutely have one of these gentlemen in your lineup. Alexandre Pantoja scores really well. This guy scores phenomenally well. 99 points in a second round win, 100 points in a first round win, and almost 150 back-to-back title fights. He scored 143 points. You need this man in your lineup if you think he wins. And he gets the wrestling going. He has the control time. He gets his strikes going. This guy is busy as hell, stays in your face. He wrestles, he strikes, he does all the things. He doesn't quit. He never stops. If you think Pantoja wins, as I do, he should be in your lineup because this guy, from the salary to the score ratio, is absolutely spectacular. His average DraftKings score, all the wins, all the losses over the last 8 years, his average score is almost his salary. That's how well this gentleman does in DraftKings Fantasy. If you look at his opponent, Stevie Erceg, little Stevie boy, little IT Steve, insurance salesman Steve Erceg, is a very good fighter. He's a very good wrestler. He's an accomplished wrestler in Australia. He wrestled, competed in wrestling long before MMA, then transitioned to MMA. He doesn't use that wrestling that often, though, in his fights. It is there. When he fought Alessandro Costa, he took him down. Alessandro Costa took Steve down. They exchanged some takedowns there. Took down David Dvorak in his UFC debut. Since then, he's been much more willing to strike. He has picked up the volume, and he just flatlined Matt Schnell, but so could my daughter. Steve Erceg is good so far. He's good. The problem is we don't know how good he is or isn't. He's never had a tough fight. He fought these three gentlemen, and then the rest of the division is either injured or lost, so they have nobody else for Pantoja to fight, so he got rushed into a title fight in a main event. He might go out there, spark Pantoja, and go on to be one of the best fighters in this division ever. Or he could get taken down, ridden out, get beat the exact same way that Brener and Royval just got beat, and then we'll be like, yeah, it was probably a little too much too soon. It's hard to know. There are a lot of people all over Astro Boy here, and if you love him that much, then throw him in your lineup because you have 5 rounds of scoring to work with, and he does score well in his wins. You add 2 rounds to the Dvorak win, you're cruising past that $7,400 price mark. I am on the Pantoja side. I will have him in my lineup, especially once you factor in the wrestling and everything else that guy does. Guys, that is the breakdown. Be like our boy Crit, who just won $20,000 at UFC 300 and shouted us out. Be like him. Become a premium member. Join this community here that has done $530-something plus $1,000 in DraftKings winnings in 6 months. Unlock the best DraftKings ownership projections in the game. Unlock the preloaded optimizer every week. It's $10 a month. You'll get all of this, everything I haven't mentioned as well, every single event for a month. If you sign up today, what the hell is today? Today is May 3rd. You will have full access till June 3rd. Every fight between now and June 3rd, you have full access. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. It is only $10 for an entire month. Good luck this weekend.